Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kira and it's time for another ultimate colouring vlog. These are my favourite videos to film for the channel. And also we've got a little guest with us today. You guys are always asking for more of the cats in the videos, so here is Willow. You guys see Archie a lot because he's the rambunctious social cat, but this is Willow. She'll be turning 4 this year and she's a little bit more subdued. She gets scared very easily, so you don't see her as much, but she's joined us today. Thank you so much for the little cameo. But I have so much planned for today's vlog. Will I get to all of it? I'm not too sure, but we'll see what happens. But my plan is to do a little bit of colouring space organisation with you, go do a little bit of shopping. I also want to finally film a little mini shading techniques tutorial for you. We're going to talk about my April completed pages, and then I've also got a bit of a colouring book haul as well, so lots going on. We'll see how much I actually get to. But first, let's discuss what's happening with the colouring space. So thank you all so much for the feedback and advice you gave me in the last colouring vlog, where I was asking on what I should do for the background and whether I should paint things and colour palettes and all that jazz. I've taken everything you've said and I've locked it away for future reference, but I've made the executive decision for the moment to just put everything where it needs to be, figure out the functionality of the room, and then once I'm liking how everything is organized, I suppose, then I'm gonna worry about making it look cute and aesthetic. But something I wanna go pick up from the shops today, I wanna go pick up some fairy lights because I love just having like little bits of light in the background of my videos for the face-to-face clips. I would love to have some greenery, but as you saw in the last vlog, I picked up a little plant, an artificial plant that I was very excited to display on this bookshelf. And it caught the eye of Archie, my other cat. And now it's looking like this. He was just so obsessed with these tendrils, and then he pushed the plant off of the bookshelf and the bottom half of it smashed into smithereens. So something I'm contemplating doing is maybe looking into buying some sort of crochet plants. I'm sure there's someone on Etsy that sells something like that, and I feel like that would be cute to add a bit of greenery into the background. I just love some greenery in the background of videos. I think it looks so fresh and inviting. I'm gonna go to the shops now and pick up some bits and bobs. It's also Jackson's 30th in a couple of days, and so I want to pick up a few things for that. And I'm thinking of buying him a Pokemon colouring book to see if I can convince him to do some colouring with me. So I started off my shopping by looking for colouring books for Jackson, but man, the selection was pretty limited. There were options, but they just weren't good options, you know? I did eventually find one, I'll show you that shortly, but of course I had to browse the colouring books for myself too. That's when I found this Billionaire Nights book. I really hope it was created as a gag gift because the illustrations were interesting, to say the least. But anyway, I'm really trying to be a lot more conscious now of how many colouring books I own. After looking through all my books for the colouring book collection videos I'm working on at the moment, it made me realise just how many gorgeous uncoloured pages are still sitting on my shelf waiting for some love. So I think I'm gonna try and only buy new releases from now on. Try being the operative word. I just want to make sure that I truly love every book in my collection and actually have time to colour in all of them. And then I finished off by browsing the shelves, checking out all the cute products on display, and seeing what might jazz up my colouring space at some point. one is this. Oh my goodness, I love it so much. They were literally only $4 from Kmart, so I don't expect them to last a super long time, but it gives me a really good idea of how it looks in the space, and when they eventually die, which I'm sure they will, I can go buy some better quality ones, but I'm such a sucker for fairy lights. But obviously I'm back from my little shopping expedition now. I spent way too much money, but anyway, I only picked up one semi-coloring related thing for me, and it's these transparent stickers that I showed you at Kmart. I thought these were absolutely gorgeous, and I think they will work really well when I do some more mixed media backgrounds in the future. I just imagine them really enhancing a collage type background, so I'm gonna have to use these in a coloring page sometime soon. And then, as you would have seen as well, I was on Struggle Street trying to find a coloring book for Jackson. It's obviously a gag kind of gift, but I still wanted to buy something that was like semi-cool and maybe he would have the slight inclination to color. And so I ended up going with this official comic coloring book, Marvel Avengers. Jackson loves Marvel, so I think he'll appreciate this. The pages are actually really cool, even uncolored, so even if he never colors in it, at least it'll be something fun to look at for him. That's really cool. That's also really fun. There's a lot of black going on the pages, which wouldn't appeal to me as a colorist, but I think he'll appreciate it because it means there's less things for him to color on a page. And then I ended up picking a 3-year-old's birthday card. There's this Spider-Man one here. And I thought what would be really funny if I like pasted a little 0 next to it, so it's, you know, apt for his 30th birthday. But do not worry, I'm not just getting him a coloring book and 3-year-old birthday card for his 30th. So for some reason, we decided to get married 5 days after Jackson's 30th birthday, which, you know, why not put all the big life celebrations into one? And for our honeymoon, our official honeymoon, we want to go to Japan next year in January and do some skiing and stuff like that. But straight after the wedding, we're gonna do a mini honeymoon. And the one that he knows about is we are going to be spending 2 nights in a beach penthouse, which is, that was gifted to us as a wedding gift. And oh my goodness, I'm so excited for that. But the extra few days of the honeymoon that he doesn't know about is what I'm gifting him for his birthday. And it's basically a 3-night stay in an eco cabin. And so I'm either gonna put that experience in this card here, or I might even hide it within the coloring book. So I'll wrap this up and be like, sorry babe, you know, because of the wedding, I couldn't afford to get you a gift, and I'll give him the coloring book, and then hopefully he'll flick through it, and then out will pop out a piece of paper that says, we're staying 3 nights at an eco cabin kind of vibe. So yes, that's my attempt at doing something a little bit fun for his 30th birthday. But moving on to the next segment in this vlog, a lot of you were asking for me to do a little shading tutorial to walk you through my shading process, how I go about shading different elements on a page. And so I decided I wanted to do that in real time, very casual, and I thought a coloring vlog would be the perfect time to show you that. So let's get into it right now. So for this mini shading tutorial, we're going to be working in Shooting Star by Maria Troll. And this is the page that I'm currently working on. It is obviously very much in its ugly phase at the moment. I'm doing all the base work so I can eventually make a masterpiece. But we're going to work on this little teddy bear here, so I can just kind of show you my basic shading process. I don't know how real time I'm going to make this tutorial. We'll see what I do in editing. But as you can see here, my first step is to always base my page. I find that this gives me a really good idea of where I want each color to go on the page, and also speeds up the actual colored pencil process a little bit more. So this part of the page was based with my Artex watercolor pencils, and I just use a really light shade of whatever color I want that element to be. So for this teddy bear here, I wanted it to be a sort of golden yellow color, and so I just chose a really light color from the Artex watercolor pencil set to base this guy here. After that, I will then find 3 pencil shades. I will first find a highlight shade that is just slightly darker than my base color. I will then choose a shadow shade, and then I will find a mid-tone shade that kind of bridges the gap between the highlight and the shadow. I have a feeling I might have to go in at the very end with a darker shadow shade, but we'll see how it goes. So first I'm going to grab the mid-tone, and this is what I'm going to use to sort of map out where all my shadows are going to go. When I'm not too sure of where I want my shadows to go, I first look at overlapping sections. So right now I'm shading kind of where the teddy bear is being covered by the house and his little paw. I'll then shade his paw as well, kind of where his armpit is. And then you can see there's kind of like a tiny bit of an overlap where his neck goes. Now, something I like to do with elements on my pages that have a rounded effect is actually leave a little bit of a gap between the line work and where my shadows start. And this is what's going to help you create that sort of rounded illusion on the page and give it almost a bit of a cartoony effect as well. Okay, so that's looking pretty good so far. Actually, I might add a little bit of a shadow down here, just where the tree is. Yeah, that's looking pretty good. And then I'm obviously now taking my highlight shade and just kind of blending it out into the color of the basing, just so it looks a little bit more seamless. I'm sorry if I sound super duper croaky right now. I've currently been doing a whole bunch of batch filming so that when I'm away on my honeymoon, I get to have a little bit of time off / just focus on that. Now I can go in with my darkest shade, the shadow shade we chose at the beginning, and then really bring back that depth that I initially mapped out with the mid-tone shade. I do think I just want to add a touch more depth and dimension, so I am going to choose a slightly darker shade, but before I do that, I do just want to blend out the shading I've just done there with the mid-tone again. Sometimes I need to do this, sometimes I don't, just kind of depends on how the different pigments come together. Okay, so I found a color in my Prismacolor set that's slightly darker than the previous shadow shade that I used. And I'm just gonna go in super duper lightly and just deepen those shadows a tinsy bit more. I went out of the lines a little bit right here, so I'm just going to use my Derwent electric eraser and fix that up a tad. There we go. Go back in with the highlight shade. Beautiful, all fixed. I'm going to use the mid-tone shade one more time just to blend those shadows together again. Sometimes I do get a little bit heavy-handed. That tends to be my my default. And there we go. There is my little teddy bear all shaded. I think he looks really cute. I'm not going for any sort of crazy shading for this page, so it's nice and simple. Maybe once I've completed the entire page, I might go in with an acrylic marker or gel pen and soften the line work where the highlights are, just because they are looking a little bit dark against, you know, the yellow base here. But for now, I think he looks pretty cute. So yeah, that is kind of my basic shading process. As you can tell, that really wasn't enough to put into, you know, its own separate dedicated video. but I think it really works as a little segment in this coloring vlog. If there's any other little tutorials like this you'd like me to do in future coloring vlogs, definitely let me know in the comments below. It is now time for some happy mail. I was sent, the first is good old faithful Artex. This product is going to be featured in a video on my channel probably in around mid-May. But I thought I could open it now and give you my first impressions. Artex always does a crazy job at packaging their products, which is fair because you don't want anything to get ruined. See what I mean? We've got foam and bubble wrap. Oh my goodness, and there's more foam underneath that. Oh, guess who's at the door? Hello, Archie. Archie has to have this door open. Unless if he's sleeping and I can conspicuously close it, he needs it open. So this is Artex's new set of 72 acrylic markers. And the really cool thing about them is that they come with 3 interchangeable nibs. Pretty sure it's a brush tip, a fine tip, and a medium tip. So there are so many options, so much versatility. I absolutely love this idea. It means you don't have to have 3 separate markers. All you have to do is change out the nibs. And then the second package I have to share with you all is from New York City. Oh my goodness, it's come all the way from New York to my little home in Australia. This is from the Soho Publishing Company, but I believe it's from like a subsector. Yeah, I think Mixed Media Resources is the subsector of this publishing company, and I've never been sent books from a publishing company before, so this is very exciting. And this package is also exciting for you guys because one of these books I want to do a little bit of a giveaway for. And that is Magical Love, a romantasy coloring book by Echo Chernik. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. Romantasy books are so popular at the moment, and I'm sure this is kind of tying into that popularity in a way. When I saw the previews for this book, I thought it was absolutely gorgeous. However, I knew it wasn't my style of coloring, so Mixed Media Resources did say I could do a bit of a giveaway if I wanted to. So I'm going to give away this book. The paper in this book is absolutely stunning. It's single-sided, which means you can use alcohol markers. And I will let you know that the pages in this book are all hand-drawn, no AI whatsoever. And some of these pages are absolutely stunning, but the subject matter just doesn't appeal to me and my coloring preferences. So yes, if any of you think this book is up your alley and you'd like to add it to your collection, definitely let me know in the comments below. I'll make a list of all the usernames and then do some sort of random number generator thing. And then probably maybe 2 weeks from when this video goes live, I'll announce the winner and I can send you this gorgeous little book here. And then the second book I was so kindly sent is Manga Mania by Christopher Hart. And oh my goodness, this book has 118 illustrations in it. It is so thick. There is so much coloring time in this, and I am absolutely obsessed with these illustrations. They're so gorgeous. I've never owned a manga coloring book before. I've never colored a manga style page before. But I've really been thinking about giving it a go recently, so this package came at the perfect time. Usually when I add a new book to my coloring book collection, I like to show you all the top 5 pages I'm most excited to color, but I think I'm gonna have to think a while on this one because there are so many to choose from and so many that I could see myself coloring. This is going to be a great book to feature in a video on the channel as maybe a little bit of a challenge, maybe trying to color in a manga style for a day or something like that. So thank you so much Artex and Mixed Media Resources for sending me these little goodies. As I said, if the Magical Love coloring book is up your alley, let me know in the comments below and I'll add you to the giveaway. And then to finish off today's vlog, I wanted to talk about all of my completed pages from April. Usually I do this in a separate dedicated upload on the channel, but I just did not get much coloring done in April. The loyal subscribers know how much I've had going on, but considering everything that's been happening, I still managed to complete 5 pages, which I don't think that's too shabby. And also every page that I did complete last month, I colored somewhat on the channel in a previous video. So it didn't feel necessary to do a dedicated video, so I'm tagging it onto the end of this coloring vlog. As per usual though, let's go through my coloring tracker first. Here is what the colored pages table is looking like. Lots of books in there now. Let's see. Oh, my untouched books is really going down. I've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 untouched books in my collection so far, which is very exciting. Now heading over to my 2025 tracker. Let's have a look. 5 pages colored in April, which brings me to a total of 25 pages colored so far in 2025. Like the sound of that. I've colored in 20 different coloring books so far this year, and I did only manage to color 1 page from my 25 pages to color in 2025 challenge. So I'm gonna have to do a little bit of catching up next month. Let's head into April now. I colored 2 out of the 5 on my coloring plans list. I colored in 5 different books in April. I have 3 whips on the go, and yes, we know what's happening with my challenge. So the first page I completed in April was from the video where I colored in a Hannah Karlzon book for the first time, and it is from Tales from the Witch's Cottage. Not only was this my first time coloring in a Hannah Karlzon book, but it was also my first time coloring a portrait, and I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. I've definitely got a lot of room for improvement and a lot of ways I can get better at skin shading, but I'm pretty happy with how it went for my first time. An element of this page that I really love is how I've done some really fun color combinations. You can see that for the leaves and the witch's hat, the candles, the hair, her shoulder pads, whatever you want to call them. I haven't done that for a while in my coloring pages, and I've really got to make sure I do that more and put in the effort because I always love the end result. But what I want to focus on when I color my next portrait with colored pencils is really creating some more depth in the skin, adding a little bit more color to the cheeks, and also creating more contrast and dimension for the hair. It's just looking a little bit flat in comparison to the rest of the elements on the page. The second page that I completed was a whip from March, me trying to remember what month we're in. And I colored the background for this page in the video where I used the most intimidating coloring supplies. For the background, I used mixed media and junk journaling techniques, and it was so fun to do. You can hear me rave about the process in that video, but I just love the doodly freeform aspect of it. It was so mindless and joyful to create. So I colored the foreground in April to complete the page, and it's okay. I'm not in love with it. The background is definitely my favorite part of it. And I finally experienced what I've heard so many people in the coloring community talk about, where Prismacolors do not gel well with the paper in this book, which is very surprising. It's such nice paper, but it's almost like the Prismacolors rejected going onto the page. It was very weird. So I only did a tiny bit of Prismacolor work, and then I completed the rest with my Artex colored pencils, I'm pretty sure. However, I also wasn't a massive fan of how they worked on the page either. So I think I'm going to stick with my Brute Funas in this book because that's what I used for the other page that I've colored in this one. However, I have heard that Polychromos work really well on this paper, so maybe once I eventually get my hands on some, I'll try them in this book and see how they work. And then the next page I completed was another one of many firsts for me as a colorist. It was my very first printable PDF, I suppose, I don't know what you're supposed to call them, from the artist Julia Sperry. And it was my first time coloring a portrait with alcohol markers. And without sounding up myself, I am so happy with how this one turned out. I colored this page in the 4th episode in my Mastering Alcohol Markers video from last month. And the video didn't seem to resonate too well with many people, but I think it's one of my favorite pages that I've ever colored. I just wasn't expecting myself to be able to create this with alcohol markers. I spoke about in the Hannah Karlzon video how I found it a little bit tedious and monotonous to color skin with colored pencil. I did not find that whatsoever with alcohol markers though. I absolutely loved coloring the skin with the alcohol markers and it's turned out really well. This was a grayscale illustration, which definitely helped me. And then the fourth page I completed was from the video where my fiance controlled my coloring for a day. That was such a fun video to create. We loved filming it. You loved watching it. Jackson was so flattered that you enjoyed watching him on the channel so much. You all think he's great, and obviously I do too. We'll definitely have to do a second part to that video after we're married, and it can be my husband controls my coloring for a day. But anyway, I colored a page from A Million Kittens by Lulu Mayo. Whenever I look at Lulu Mayo's illustrations, they always put a smile on my face. I think they're so adorable and cute. This one is no exception. You can see how I colored this page from start to finish in that video, but I'm so glad that I did that video because I was really in a coloring palette rut. I kept doing the same color palettes over and over again there for a few weeks. And so Jackson chose such unusual colors and I really love how they came together. And then the final page I completed in April was a part of my 2025 pages to color in 2025 challenge. It was for the prompt, a page without a background, which obviously meant I had to add my own background in. The page is from Polar Bear's Adventure Cruise by Yuki Shiratori. In my last completed pages video, I asked you all what you think I should do for the background, and literally 90% of you gave me the idea of doing an outdoor picnic situation, and so of course I had to go through with that. I will be honest with you guys, I'm not completely happy with this page. I think it's another one of those situations where so many things went wrong or I struggled with so many different elements on the page. And so when I look at it, I just imagine all that turmoil that I went to. So it's sort of skewing my overall perspective on the end result. But we got there in the end. I obviously did a little bit of an Easter theme to commemorate the month of April. I do really like the steam coming out of the teapot and the little cups. I actually do like how I shaded the trees. This is my first time freehanding a tree and I think, I did a decent job. It was also my first time creating grass texture from scratch, but considering I did it with no prior knowledge of how to color grass, I actually don't think it's that bad. It was definitely a marathon of a page and I'm very happy to have it completed. So let's do my personal ranking for the month of April. In 5th place, we know what's going there. It's the page from Polar Bear's Adventure Cruise. In 4th place, I'm going to do the Fairy Tales and Folklore page. Love how the background came together. Not as much in love with the foreground. In 3rd place is going to be the page from A Million Kittens. In 2nd place is the page from Tales from the Witch's Cottage, which then in 1st place leaves the PDF illustration from Julia Speary. I think I just shocked myself with how well I was able to color a grayscale portrait with alcohol markers, so that's why it's going in 1st place. In regards to my coloring plans for the month of May, I've only got a few pages listed down. I've got the World of Flowers whip that has been hanging over my head, I think since January. I have the My Tiny Forest hot air balloon page. I obviously have the page that I was coloring in this vlog with you, the page from Shooting Star. And then I also have one of my pages from my 2025 challenge from A Million Little Monsters. I would like to complete another page from that challenge list if I can, but we'll see how we go. But that brings us to the end of this coloring vlog. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you made it to this part of the video, leave a star emoji in the comments so I know you are a true MVP of the channel. But in the meantime, happy coloring friends. Have a good day, have a good life, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!